There you go. Hi, welcome. This is the April 30th, 2026 special meeting of the Measure O Citizens Oversight Committee. We're conducting this meeting at City Hall in the chamber. The meeting is being broadcast on TV, video streamed, and can be viewed later on the city's website or the city's YouTube channel. First item, Jeff Feit, a committee member, moved out of the area and so is no longer eligible and has resigned. We will be looking for another committee member. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Yes, Chair Bartlett.
Here.
Vice Chair Mulligan.
Here.
Committee Member Hildreth.
Here.
And Committee Member Meausure.
Here. Thank you. Have the committee members reviewed the minutes from the last special meeting?
I have.
Yes.
Would you conduct a roll call?
Do you want a
approve?
motion?
Yeah, how about a motion to approve the minutes?
Find the last month's minutes acceptable without correction.
I'll second.
And roll call vote. Chair Bartlett.
Approved?
Vice Chair Mulligan.
Approve.
Committee Member Hildreth.
Yes.
Committee Member Meausure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Unanimous.
Under California law, public comments in special meetings are limited to subjects that are on the agenda. Therefore, public comment will take place during the committee consideration of the item. The only item on today's agenda is to hear the Q3 report. The secretary would like to present the report.
Yes, thank you. I'm Kirsten Lacasse, Administrative Services Director, and today I'm going to walk through the fiscal year 26 third quarter budget update for Measure O. So this afternoon, I will cover our projected revenues and drivers for those expected results. We will look at the expenditures to date and where we think we will be at year end, and the projected fund balance for fiscal year 26 and the requested action of this committee this afternoon. So revenue and expenditure projections for the third quarter are based on actual results through March 30th of 2026, as well as anticipated changes in the economy and operations through the end of the fiscal year. Measure O revenues and use of reserves are projected to be $23.16 million at the end of fiscal year 26, which exceeds budget by approximately $440,000. Expenditures are projected to be under budget by approximately $80,000, and we will cover the expenditures in each budget category further into the presentation. There is a projected contribution to fund balance at year end of approximately $2.3 million. As you know, the transaction and use tax revenue is the primary revenue in Measure O. For fiscal year 26, it is projected to be approximately $180,000 more than budget. The interest earned is expected to exceed budget by about $260,000 for a total projected revenue of $13.28 million. Beginning in fiscal year 24, the city set aside $9 million annually in a dedicated reserve for the Heather Farm Park Aquatic and Community Center project. The reserve reached $16 million as of June 30th of 2025. And in November of 2025, $9.88 million of that reserve was appropriated for Phase 2 construction, leaving a reserve balance of $6.12 million. The total revenue and use of reserves projected for fiscal year 26 is $23.16 million. Next, I will touch on the main drivers for the increases in the transaction and use tax revenues. Sales and use taxes statewide are experiencing slower than anticipated growth over fiscal year 25 at only 1.2%. Locally, Walnut Creek has been impacted by the changes in the auto and transportation category. However, where we saw just a 0.4% growth in new motor vehicle sales, both the county and state had negative growth of 1.7 and 5.3 respectively. Walnut Creek experienced growth of 3.5% across all categories year over year, which exceeds both the county growth of just 0.8% and the state at 1.2%. Measure O is collected with sales tax, and growth generally tracks similarly to sales tax growth with some differences within categories since it is a transaction and use tax. When comparing quarters year over year, Measure O revenue has increased by 5.5%. The most significant increases occurred in general consumer goods, 6.2%, restaurants and hotels at 8.3%, and building and construction at 13.1%. All categories had increases except for autos and transportation, which dropped slightly at 0.9%. And as a reminder, the Measure O portion of an auto sale is based on where the vehicle is registered versus where it was purchased. So this next slide represents the percentage of the total transaction and use tax revenue received by industry category for the first 2 quarters of fiscal year 26, with general consumer goods being the largest percentage. The fiscal year 26 total budgeted expenditure is $20.97 million, with projected expenditures of $20.88 million, which will result in approximately $80,000 in expenditure savings. Capital project funding is transferred from various funding sources to the capital fund, and in the case of Measure O, $10.13 million has been transferred to the capital fund, so that amount is projected to be fully spent at year end. In December 2025, the city issued $55 million in bonds to fund the project at Heather Farm. The bonds have a debt service of $7.53 million, which is due June 1st and will be fully spent. So next I will discuss each of these categories in more detail, including the amounts allocated to capital as well as the debt service. Over the last 2 fiscal years, City Council allocated one-time funding from Measure O to Walnut Creek Downtown for events and initiatives. This includes $325,000 in fiscal year 25 into fiscal year 26. These funds have supported a range of initiatives, including updated utility box artwork, multi-year holiday decoration installation and removal, enhancements to Walnut Creek on Ice, aesthetic upgrades to mini plazas, expansion of the First Wednesday program, development of the Downtown Vision Plan, and assistance with event permit fees for Oktoberfest and Walnut Creek on Ice. Funding allocated to homeless services supports the Community Development Department's partnership with Contra Costa County to continue the full-time core homeless outreach team, which engages unsheltered individuals, connects them to services, and helps place them in a shelter and permanent housing through the county's coordinated entry system. The program costs about $284,000 annually, with Measure O contributing $250,000, and the remaining balance covered by other eligible sources such as grants. The full Measure O allocation is expected to be expended in fiscal year 26. Funding was budgeted for marketing, advertising, and public relations costs to support expanding and attracting new audiences as part of the Leisure Center strategic plan. Additionally, the program coordinator manages the technical requirements of artists, supports presentation series and festivals, and assists with expanded programming at the Leisure Center. It's anticipated at fiscal year end that there will be an expenditure savings of approximately $50,000, and that's due to the timing of filling the program coordinator position, which wasn't until October of 2025 in this fiscal year. The Contra Costa County provides 40 base hours at both the Walnut Creek and Ignacio Valley branches. Measure O funds an additional 12 hours per week at each branch. These extra hours add a 6th open day on Monday, as well as 2 additional hours on Tuesday. The total annual cost is approximately $623,000. This amount will be fully spent or obligated at year end. The public safety category is cross-departmental. It includes 7 positions in the police department, all of which are filled. 5 police officers are assigned to downtown patrol, and costs are incurred in Measure O as patrol officers perform specific activities assigned to Measure O funding. Additionally, there is 1 dispatch supervisor and a crime prevention specialist. And lastly, funding has been allocated to the Public Works Department for crossing guards at local schools, which is managed by contract. As you may recall, we removed the vacancy factor assumption in the fiscal year 26 and 27 budget, since the limited number of positions in Measure O meant that the fund is more affected when all the positions are filled. So this change is resulting in a small amount of projected savings at year end in this category of approximately $20,000. The sustainability analyst funded by Measure O implements recommendations from the Sustainability Action Plan approved by City Council. It's anticipated there will be slight savings of about $9,000 at fiscal year end, and again, that's due to the removal of the vacancy rate assumption from the budget. As mentioned earlier, $9.88 million was allocated from reserves to capital for a portion of Phase 2 of the Heather Farm Aquatic and Community Center project, as well as $250,000 for the Clark Pool and Pool House repurposing master plan. In December of 2025, $55 million in lease revenue bonds were issued at a favorable 2.17% yield, resulting in an annual debt service of about $7.5 million. The lower than anticipated debt service results in approximately $1.5 million in savings compared to the original $9 million set aside. The total project budget is $75.8 million. It's funded by multiple funding sources: the General Fund Facilities Reserve, the Measure O Reserve, as well as the bond proceeds. The bond proceeds expended to date are just over $2 million, and the full amount of the bond proceeds is obligated for the costs associated with construction of the project. This next slide shows these same expenditures by department, with the capital improvement projects managed by Public Works and the debt service in finance. An estimated contribution to fund balance of $2.27 million is projected at year-end, primarily due to the approximate $1.5 million savings from the debt service. The fiscal year 26 projected fund balance for Measure O of $12.38 million includes the remaining $6.12 million balance in the reserve for the Aquatic and Community Center project, as well as unallocated reserves from year-end balances in fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25 of $3.99 million. So with that, we're asking of you today is to review the revenues and expenditures and provide feedback as to whether expenditures align with the adopted legislation and spending plan, and then refer the report to City Council for acceptance. And with that, we have staff able to respond to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Kristen. Do committee members have any comments or questions?
Well, yeah, I think it's great. This looks like we're right on target with between the projections and the revenue, with even a little bit left over, $437,000, which is great. And the wide scope of your presentation, I think, shows the wide range of the benefits from Measure O, which I think is what the voters were hoping for. So that's all good. The only other thing I had was the pool. Yeah, I heard that they were digging a hole. Can we get updated on what the status of that construction is?
Yeah, we have Mike Vickers here
Mike?
from Public Works who can help out with these questions.
Good afternoon, Mike Vickers, Public Works Assistant Director. What was your question specifically, sir?
Well, just an update on the construction status and no surprises, hopefully, and everything's going along as planned?
Yeah, I mean, we got off running really quick. Trees came down, we started doing the dirt, and then we got hit with a couple weeks of rain, and so we've been drying things out. We didn't move too much dirt this week. We'll be back into moving more dirt next week and start with the underground construction for the main drainage lines. We are coming across a fair amount of groundwater, which was anticipated. It's probably a little bit more this season than what we seen last season, but it's part of the dewatering process, so that's slowing things a few days, but really not having too much of an impact.
Great. Sounds like it's going as expected then.
On schedule, yep.
Right. Thanks.
Yes, you're welcome.
That's it for me.
I had a comment and a question. I was confused when we got the original report first of all, congratulations on the bond sale,
Yeah.
super low rate. That's really good. Saves the city a lot of money. But I was confused by the debt repayment schedule. If it's 2% on $55 million, it seems like that should be about $1.2 million per year. I did look into it a little bit, and this is just for education of the fellow commission members, but it's not a traditional bond where it pays off $55 million at the end. It's one where it amortizes through the life of the bond, so you're actually paying back some every year. So that was confusing to me. I expected to see a $2 million number, not a $7.5 million number. So I just wanted to share that in case that was confusing to you all. One of the other question I had for you is the chair and I attended a mayor's meeting last week where there was discussion about the fact that there might be a reallocation of some, you mentioned in your comments about the fact that the auto sales tax revenues come to where the car is registered. And he said there might be a change in some of that for those who buy their cars online, that perhaps some of that would go to wherever the distribution center is versus where the car is registered. I just wondered if you have any thoughts about, will that change, and maybe it doesn't move the needle, I don't know, but do you think that'll change the financial implications of Measure O receipts?
It actually won't change Measure O because it's the auto piece of the sale really is related to where it's registered. So it will impact our regular Bradley Burns sales tax, but Measure O will be relatively unaffected by it. Any changes to Measure O are generally more influenced by more online sales versus in-store sales. So if things are shipped to Walnut Creek, that works in our benefit. But the changes to the autos will not impact us on the Measure O side.
Just a follow-up to that, I read somewhere, it was a couple months ago, where there was a little bit of a surprise in how the revenues were shared. Is that what this is about?
That's correct. There was a change from the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration on how some auto sales are reported. And so because of that, the city has been impacted negatively by about $2 million in this current fiscal year because of the reallocation of where those sales tax dollars go. And so that was actually something that we did not have any control over. It was a change made at that level.
Thank you.
So following on that, I remember the city impact figure of 2 million, and I've enjoyed watching the appointment of new police officers, safety officers, crossing guards, all of that. And I usually ask, are those positions secure? And now that they're in place, are they going to remain? And the answer so far for 2 years has been yes, yes, always. So when the city is now going to wrestle with $2 million less, how might that affect some of the positions that we've managed to fill in these other areas, like the police department?
So that would not impact the positions that are funded by Measure O.
Okay.
So that really is an issue specific to the general fund. And so the general fund is where we would need to do any balancing based on any revenue losses.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick comment here. I'd like to say I think it's wonderful that we're using the Measure O funds for 12 extra open library hours per week at each of the branches. But putting on my Contra Costa County Library Commissioner hat, I just wanted to make everyone aware that the county library is willing to support up to 16 extra hours at each branch. So we could go a little more, but not with that $2 million news. But I think it's great we're doing what we're doing with the 12 extra hours.
So I've been privileged to watch Measure O engender happiness in the community, really. The things that it's been able to fund and accomplish have really been just a joy to watch. And being in the position that we all here are, we see more of that in detail than the community does. So I wanted to start inviting some of the recipients of our funding up to the dais to explain or to share really how their mission has been impacted by Measure O. So I had a discussion with Kathy Hemingway, who's here with us today from the Walnut Creek Downtown. And those things that the Walnut Creek Downtown does are all around you when you walk around. So I'm going to let Kathy, please, come on up and tell us how the funding has affected your mission.
Good afternoon, Kathy Hemingway, Executive Director with Walnut Creek Downtown Association, and I wanted to share the Walnut Creek Downtown Association mission statement in advance of sharing the positive impact that the Measure O funding has, how it has impacted our organization and its mission. The statement reads, lead and collaborate with our members, partners, and community to promote and enhance downtown Walnut Creek. So the Measure O funding has been essential in advancing our missions and to promote, which is to promote and enhance the downtown Walnut Creek while directly supporting its 650 local businesses. Funding events and waiving the fees for Walnut Creek on Ice and Oktoberfest reduce costs and drive customer traffic to downtown businesses. Our events generally begin with a zero budget, so the waiving of our park fees the city's park fees directly impacts our programming. Expansion of the programs like First Wednesday, which is now evolved into the Locust Street Festival, increased consistent economic activity to the downtown. Each event last year brought 3,000 to 4,000 people to the downtown on a Wednesday evening. More programming equals more foot traffic and longer visits. Last year's August Locust Street event saw an average of two-hour visit time with direct traffic going into local businesses before and after each of the events. The placemaking and beautification with enhancements to the mini plaza, public art, and holiday decor, they improve the downtown experience, as you probably well know, offering a variety in activations and encourage, again, that repeat visit. The holiday decor that we've installed over the last 2-3 years helped Walnut Creek come to life, especially after the pandemic when neighboring cities were spending time and money on lights and banners and improvements. And so as a regional destination and shopping and dining destinations, it was very important to have Walnut Creek celebrate and shine bright for our businesses, the visitors, and residents. Our Big Belly Wraps have engaged artists and art lovers to enjoy unique applications on over 30 pair of trash units throughout the downtown, adding color and curiosity as visitors walk through the downtown. And the collaboration that was able to really strengthen the partnership between Walnut Creek downtown, the city, our businesses, our board, our community was developed through our vision plan effort. And that 1.5-year effort, though a little longer than we wanted, has really produced a strong plan for the next 5 years. So that through that outreach, the association has developed a path centered on creating a downtown that continues to be vibrant, walkable, and active every day, all day, throughout the year. So that vision will reflect both the downtown's current strengths and the clear direction expressed by the community through that effort. So Measure O funding delivers visible improvements, increased activity, and direct economic benefit to Walnut Creek's downtown and business community. And we thank you for your continued support in enhancing the uniqueness and the vitality of downtown Walnut Creek, which WCD is proud to champion.
Thank you very much, Kathy. In case any of you have noticed, you've been maybe at Starbucks or over by Macy's, and you've heard some live piano music, maybe extraordinary, maybe a child performance. Those pianos are there because of Walnut Creek Downtown. That's their painted piano program, and they do this every year. You can donate an old piano, and it'll end up in its final years entertaining all of us and bringing, access to anybody who happens to be downtown so inclined to make some music. So thanks again for that, Kathy. It's time now for a public comment. Oh, yes?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just had one more question. I was thinking back to the issue of the bond, and this is a math question, more of a longer-term thing. So I think Measure O has a 10-year life.
Correct.
I think I recollect that. And we've been reserving roughly $9 million a year. So 9 times 10 is 90. And the city just sold a bond for 55, so that's 145. Mm-hmm. The swim center is going to cost half of that. Do you anticipate that once we get farther down the road on the swim center that the $9 million a year will not go towards the swim center? I mean, How do we reconcile that math if we're sitting here 7 years from now?
Well, I just want to clarify that the 9 million was set aside initially before we issued the bonds, but now that 9 million, 7.5 of it will go toward the bond payment. So
Okay.
we won't be accumulating that level of resources. And then what happens with the additional Measure O money that's accumulating, that would come back to council for consideration on how they want to look at that holistically in order to allocate those monies. But ultimately, when the bonds will expire at the same timing as the measure, and by then we'll be fully paid off. But the only additional Measure O funding will be essentially what accumulates, this $1.5 million annually, and then any additional underspending we do on the budget. So how much that will be, it won't be as, quite as much as the, kind of doubling what the cost of the project is.
Okay, yeah, I understand and I appreciate it, and as you described it, the city is spending the money on the items that Measure O voters approved, so just wanted to know about the back end of it, so thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any additional comments from the committee?
None.
All right, so we can move on now to the public comment portion of the meeting. If you'd like to comment, please take a walk up here, fill out a card, hand it to the secretary, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak. All right, so this concludes the public comment period. Are there any additional questions or comments from the committee?
No.
So our ask was to approve the report for submission to City Council for approval. Can I get a motion?
I'll move that the committee refer the fiscal year 26 third quarter Measure O budget update report to the city council for acceptance.
I'll second that.
Would you please take a roll call vote?
Yes, Chair Bartlett,
Yes.
Vice Chair Mulligan,
Yes.
Committee Member Hildreth,
Yes.
and Committee Member Smyers.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments or questions or anything you'd like to say?
Our next meeting will be in early December, and we'll be discussing the year end, how we completed fiscal year 26 as well as the audit.
If there's no further business, I will adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.